Okay, let's dive in. Today, we're looking at a really interesting source that kind of challenges some of those, standard get inspired, push through ideas.
Mm.
It offers well, a pretty paradoxical way to get out of your own way.
It really does, yeah. The source is Just Do Nothing, a paradoxical guide to getting out of your way. It's by Joanna Hardis, and she's a cognitive behavioral therapist. And that title alone tells you it's not your typical self-help approach.
Just do nothing. I mean, that sounds like the opposite of everything, right? Every productivity book, every motivational talk. But it's not about literally doing nothing, is it?
No, not at all. It's really a deep look inside at our thoughts, our feelings, how we handle them. And the core idea is that maybe, just maybe, fighting against all that internal stuff, that discomfort, maybe that's the thing that's actually keeping us stuck.
Huh. So the mission here for this deep dive is to kind of pull out the key ideas from her work.
Exactly. We want to get a handle on concepts like distress tolerance and something she calls emotional allowability, and really unpack this central paradox, this idea that if you allow the difficult feelings, instead of, trying to wrestle them into submission or fix them, that's actually how you create space for change.
We hear it all the time, don't we? Good vibes only, or
Sure.
like just push through the pain. But honestly, trying to force yourself to feel differently, it often just feels impossible.
Or worse, yeah, like you failed if you can't just snap out of it.
Right. So what if the answer isn't making yourself feel better, but learning how to just be with the tough stuff differently?
And that's where it gets really interesting.
Okay, so Hardy's kind of kicks things off by focusing on what often jams up the works for us. She has this term for it, distress intolerance.
Distress intolerance. Yeah, it's essentially it's a learned pattern.
Hmm.
It's where you find yourself actively trying to avoid difficult internal experiences, uncomfortable feelings, weird physical sensations, maybe certain thoughts, because you've got this underlying belief that you just can't cope with them.
Can't handle it. And she
Right.
gives some really good examples in the book, ones that feel pretty familiar,
Oh, yeah.
like her own story about being a kid, playing tennis, and getting super anxious before matches, that whole adrenaline thing, stomach in knots.
Even feeling like you might throw up. Yeah. And instead of that just being like normal nerves, that internal feeling became the big red SDOP sign. Avoid.
Yeah.
Avoid.
Or those client examples she mentions, like someone canceling plans because it takes so much energy just to get going. That feeling of dread or fatigue is seen as unbearable, so avoid.
Right. Or, the classic, it's wine o'clock somewhere thinking. Often that's just a quick way to sidestep an unpleasant feeling or a thought you don't want to deal with right then.
And the irony, the really tough part, is that this avoidance, which feels like the solution in the moment, it ends up being the real problem down the line.
That's it exactly. It stops you from, well, living your life fully, from going after goals, building resilience, all that stuff.
And it's not just a minor inconvenience, is it? She points out the link to bigger mental health issues.
Absolutely. It's considered a pretty significant risk factor. Distress intolerance is often found alongside things like anxiety disorders, depression, substance use problems. If your main strategy for dealing with discomfort is to escape it, you're kind of setting yourself up for those bigger struggles.
And where does it come from? It's not just one thing, right?
No, it's complicated. It could be biological stuff, like maybe you're just wired to feel things more intensely physiologically. Definitely environmental factors, what you saw modeled growing up, what you were taught or maybe not taught about handling tough feeling.
And then just learned associations.
Yeah, like if Googling your symptoms makes your health anxiety feel better for like 5 minutes, your brain learns, okay, Googling relief, even though it's temporary and probably makes things worse overall, that immediate relief reinforces the avoidance behavior.
So the core lesson becomes these feelings are bad, maybe unbearable, and avoiding them works for now.
Exactly. But with those hidden long-term costs piling up.
Okay, so if avoiding the discomfort is the problem, then we probably need to understand the discomfort itself better. She breaks down emotions in a way that, well, it clicks for me.
Yeah, she talks about three main parts to any emotion. First, the sensations. That's the physical stuff. Tightness in your chest, feeling hot, butterflies, those knots in your stomach, purely physical.
Got it.
Then cognitions. These are your thoughts, the labels you stick on it like, oh, this is anxiety. Memories that pop up. The story or meaning you create around the feeling.
Okay, sensations, cognitions.
And finally, urges. The impulse to do something, the urge to run away or snap at someone, or like we said, call in sick when you feel anxious about work.
And she takes issue with some common phrases we use too, right? like being emotionally available.
Yeah, she finds that kind of confusing. It's like saying someone's respirationally available because they can breathe. Emotions
Yeah.
just happen. They're not a resource you have or don't have in that sense.
Hmm. So what does she suggest instead?
She prefers the term emotionally allowable. It's more about the capacity or the willingness to simply allow the full range of human emotions, the good, the bad, the ugly, to be there without feeling this overwhelming need to control them, judge them, or shove them away. It's about giving yourself permission.
Permission to feel anything, even the stuff that feels really awful.
That's the core idea because look, your brain is just going to keep generating thoughts, spitting them up, as she puts it. They can be random, weird, critical.
Yeah.
It just does that.
And just because you have a thought, that doesn't make it true
Or
or important even.
not at all. Think of it like a little puppy's mind wandering off. That's just what minds do. The skill isn't stopping the thoughts. It's gently, patiently bringing your attention back to now, like training the puppy.
And she draws this really useful line between a thought itself and the act of thinking.
Yes, super important distinction. A thought is just the little blip. Peaches sound good. Thinking is the behavior you engage in with that thought. Worrying about the peaches, planning the peach trip, ruminating on past peach failures. That activity, the thinking, is something we have more influence over. It's a behavior we can choose to do or not do.
And the more you engage in that thinking behavior, the more attention and meaning you give the original thought or feeling.
The stronger it gets, exactly.
Yeah.
Her example of waiting for a text back after a date, perfect. He hasn't texted, fact. But your brain starts thinking, starts spinning stories. He's ghosting me. I must have said something stupid. This is definitely over. You invest so much energy in that narrative, and the anxiety just skyrockets, even though the only real fact is no text yet.
Which leads right into that whole don't think of a white bear thing.
Right.
Ironic process theory.
Exactly, the paradox of suppression. The more you actively try not to think about something or feel something, the more it tends to stick around and pop up. Like if I say, okay, whatever you do, absolutely do not think about a juicy red apple.
Red apple. Right there. Can't help it.
Precisely. Trying to suppress unwanted feelings often just gives them more power, keeps them center stage.
And that really highlights the problem with things like good vibes only, or what people call toxic positivity.
Oh, totally. Those messages basically say, hey, feeling bad is wrong. You shouldn't feel that. But life isn't like that. It includes anxiety, sadness, frustration, all of it. Trying to just squash the bad vibes, it often backfires. They fester or pop out sideways. The goal should be making all vibes allowable, letting them exist.
I like her analogy of emotions being like waves.
Yeah, it's a great visual. They naturally build up, they crest, they peak, and then they subside if you let them run their course.
But we often only notice when it's already huge, right? At the peak.
Exactly. And then we panic, we fight it, we overthink it, and that just re-triggers the whole cycle. It feels like the wave never ends, it just keeps crashing. Her own story about anxiety when her daughter had COVID really illustrates getting caught in that loop. The fear hits, she reacts, the reaction fuels more fear.
So, okay, if resisting discomfort is the core issue, how does that resistance actually play out? What are the common ways we, sabotage ourselves? She calls them mishaps.
Yeah, these are the typical patterns, the behaviors driven by that distress intolerance we talked about, often totally unintentional, but they keep us stuck.
One she mentions is watering the weeds, which sounds counterproductive.
It is. It's basically overthinking on steroids.
Yeah.
Worrying, ruminating, replaying conversations in your head, constantly seeking reassurance from others.
And these aren't just thoughts happening to you, right? The things you're actively doing in your head.
Yes, they are thinking behaviors. Like the guy Paul in the book, with social anxiety at the gym. He wasn't just lifting weights. His mind was constantly busy replaying interactions, worrying if he sounded stupid, asking friends later if he seemed okay. All that mental energy was like pouring water on his anxiety weeds, making them grow stronger instead of focusing on his workout.
Okay, that makes sense. Then there's talking yourself out of starting. That sounds familiar.
Oh, yeah. Future tripping, getting completely tangled up in anticipatory anxiety about all the things that might go wrong before you even take the first step.
Like the example of not being able to sleep.
Perfect example. You lie there, focusing entirely on the outcome, I need to fall asleep. Then you start worrying about the consequences of not achieving that outcome. If I don't sleep, tomorrow will be a disaster. That worry itself creates anxiety, making sleep even harder. You might even start avoiding bedtime routines because they now feel stressful. You've effectively talked yourself out of relaxing into the process of sleep by fixating on a feared future.
And the last one we'll mention here Using feelings as a fallback.
This is basically letting your current mood dictate your actions. I can't go to the party, I feel too anxious, I won't start that project today, I'm too tired. Or even sometimes, I feel really good right now, I don't want to do something hard and risk feeling bad.
Like the client who'd cancel things based on a vibe check.
Exactly. If the internal state wasn't right, the action was off the table. But here's the crucial point Hardis makes. Behavior often changes feelings faster than waiting for feelings to change first. You act your way into feeling differently rather than waiting to feel motivated or ready. Action first.
Okay, so if fighting feelings and these mishaps are the problem, what's the alternative path? It sounds like it involves building some new mental muscles, some new skills.
That's exactly it. The shift is from trying to eliminate discomfort to learning how to relate to it differently, how to be with it.
And the starting point isn't feeling brave or motivated.
No, interestingly, she says the key ingredient is just willingness. Are you willing to feel uncomfortable in the service of doing something that matters to you? It kind of echoes the Serenity Prayer, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Accepting the things you can't change, like the fact that anxiety feels unpleasant and it's here right now, and having the courage to change the things you can, like choosing to go to the party anyway. Willingness is just nodding to the discomfort and taking the step.
And that links to focusing on the process, not just the outcome. Because we love outcomes. We want to be confident, finish the thing, get to sleep.
Of course, outcomes are motivating. But the book really stresses that lasting change comes from focusing on the process of showing up day after day, acting in line with your values, even when you feel crappy or unmotivated. Back to the sleep example. The process is the wind-down routine, sticking to a schedule. The outcome is sleep. Fixate only on the outcome and you tense up, undermining the very process that leads to it.
So how do you actually do this in the moment? She had that framework, right? The allow principle.
Yes, it's a really practical anchor for when you're feeling overwhelmed by discomfort. ALOW.
Okay, break it down.
A is for acknowledge. Just notice what's going on. What are you feeling? What are you thinking? What's happening around you? Simple noticing.
Okay.
First L is lean in. Just turn towards the discomfort, even a tiny bit. Not necessarily embracing it with open arms, but not actively pushing it away or running from it either. Just turning towards.
Second L.
L is let it be. This is kind of the do nothing part. Allow the thoughts, the feelings, the physical sensations to just exist. Don't try to change them, fix them, analyze them. Just let them be there.
Oh.
O is observe. Step back mentally. Notice the difference between the objective facts of the situation and the stories or interpretations your mind is adding. Pay attention to the physical sensations in your body, just observing them like a curious scientist.
Finally, W.
W is work with. This is the crucial action step. While you're acknowledging, leaning in, letting be, and observing, you take intentional action that moves you towards what's important to you. You act while feeling the discomfort.
That lean in and let it be. That feels so counterintuitive. How do you practice getting okay with discomfort, relaxing into it?
She uses a really simple physical analogy, trying to touch your toes. You know how when you first reach down, everything tenses up, your hamstrings scream a little?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But if you breathe into it, soften slightly, focus gently, often you can relax into that stretch a bit more. You increase your flexibility. She argues it's the same process with emotional discomfort. You learn to relax the mental and emotional tensing that happens automatically. But, and this is key, it's a skill. You build it with practice, starting small.
Which is where the sliding scale of distress comes in. You don't just jump into the deep end.
God, no. Absolutely not. The idea is to identify situations or feelings that trigger discomfort for you personally, and then rank them, maybe on a scale of 1 to 10. You start practicing these allow skills on situations that are maybe a 3.5 or a 4. Things that are noticeably uncomfortable, but not totally overwhelming, like lifting lighter weights before you go for the heavy ones. You build that tolerance muscle gradually.
And that ties into riding the wave, the emotion wave.
It does. It's also called urge surfing. It's a technique used a lot in things like addiction treatment, often linked to researchers like Dr. Alan Marlett. The skill is literally learning to ride out the wave of an intense emotion or like the urge to avoid or lash out or use a substance without acting on it. You notice it building, you feel it peak, and you stay present with it, trusting it will eventually pass. You surf it rather than getting wiped out by it. And interestingly, giving it less frantic attention often helps it pass more quickly.
Makes sense. Another skill you mentioned was just the facts, ma'am.
Yeah, skill number 3 in her book. It's all about discipline separation. What are the objective, observable facts of this situation? And what are the interpretations, assumptions, judgments, and stories my brain is layering on top? Being able to distinguish those helps you respond to what's actually happening, not just your emotional reaction or your made-up catastrophe. Saves a ton of energy. Think back to that texting example. The fact is, no text yet. The story is he hates me. Respond to the fact, not the story.
Doing all this, it sounds like it requires being pretty kind to yourself along the way.
Oh, massively. Self-compassion skill number 12, she argues, is absolutely essential, not some fluffy add-on, because beating yourself up, which is mishap #2, judging yourself when you're trying something hard, or when you inevitably stumble, it's just counterproductive.
You're basically piling more distress onto the already existing distress.
Exactly. Why make it harder? She suggests asking yourself, how would I talk to a good friend who is going through this? You probably wouldn't tell them they're a useless idiot, right? You'd offer support. Kristen Neff's work is fantastic on developing this, and it's crucial when you start rethinking failure.
Right, because mishap #1 is that trap of thinking, I failed, therefore I am a failure.
Yeah, she really pushes back against that black and white, outcome-obsessed thinking. Not getting the result you wanted or finding something really difficult doesn't make you a failure. It's just data. It's feedback. It's a chance to look at your process, see what worked, what didn't, and maybe tweak things. Her own reframing of her divorce is powerful, moving from feeling like a shitty wife, a label, a failure identity, to acknowledging her efforts, the complexities, the other person's role, seeing the process, not just a failed outcome.
And what about when you do slip up? When you have that moment of weakness and fall back into an old habit?
Yeah.
Mishap #5, the fuck it's.
The fuck it's. That moment of, screw it, I already messed up, might as well go all in. The skill here is quick course correction. It's noticing you slipped, trying not to pile on the judgment, seeing what you can learn. Okay, maybe I tried something too high on my distress scale too soon, showing yourself some grace, and just getting back on track as soon as possible. It's not about never slipping, it's about how quickly you recover.
It really sounds like none of this is a quick fix.
Yeah.
It's all about practice, practice, practice.
Totally. These are genuine skills, like learning piano or learning to code. It takes repetition, patience, acknowledging small steps forward. You wouldn't expect to play a concerto after one lesson. Same idea here. Small, consistent efforts build the muscle over time.
Hardis says straight up that for some of her clients, this work is the hardest thing they've ever done.
Yeah, because you're fundamentally going against potentially decades of learned avoidance. Leaning into the stuff you've spent your life running from, that takes immense courage and effort.
But the potential reward, the payoff, that sounds pretty transformative, a life that actually gets bigger instead of smaller.
The examples she gives are really inspiring. Like Larry, the guy totally consumed by COVID fears. His life was dominated by these elaborate cleaning rituals, driven by this intense intolerance for uncertainty and anxiety.
Right, driving himself and his family nuts.
Exactly. But as he practiced allowing those uncomfortable feelings without launching into the compulsive behaviors, the rituals started to decrease. But it didn't stop there. That increased tolerance for discomfort bled into other areas. He got better at setting boundaries with his kids, handling tough conversations at work, his marriage improved, even his stress snacking reduced.
Wow. So building the skill in one specific area actually strengthened his overall capacity to handle difficult things.
That's the idea. And that other client, the one paralyzed by making decisions, always needing to analyze everything from everything.
Analysis paralysis, yeah.
By learning to act without needing total certainty or complete understanding, first learning to tolerate the discomfort of not knowing, she started to break free. She could actually make choices and move forward.
So if you're listening and doing this kind of work, the potential gains are huge. Like really being able to tackle hard things you've avoided. Having deeper relationships because you can handle vulnerability or conflict. Building a kind of confidence that isn't just based on winning or succeeding. Being more present.
Yeah.
Just more resilient when life throws curveballs.
It fundamentally shifts how you relate to your own internal world and therefore how you engage with the external world with all its inherent messiness and uncertainty.
So wrapping up, the core message from Just Do Nothing seems to be this really potent paradox. Stop fighting the internal discomfort. Allow it. Focus on the process of showing up and acting in line with your values, even when it feels hard. And that's how you gradually break free from those old patterns of avoidance that limit your life.
Yeah. Building up your distress tolerance, your emotional allowability,
Yeah.
it isn't about becoming some kind of emotionless robot or never feeling bad again. It's about developing the inner resources to navigate whatever comes up inside you so your feelings don't run the show or dictate the size of your world. It's a skill for life, really. It takes practice, but the freedom it offers is, well, pretty profound.
So here's something to think about. Cast your mind back over the last week or so. Was there a situation, maybe something small, maybe something bigger, where you avoided doing something that actually mattered to you, primarily because of how you felt inside? Maybe you felt anxious or tired or overwhelmed or just dreaded it.
Now imagine that situation coming up again. How might it change if you applied this idea? If you simply allowed that uncomfortable feeling to be there, didn't fight it, didn't try to fix it, but at the same time took just one small intentional step towards the thing that matters, what might happen next time?
Something to chew on as you face your own next wave.